Best Pets for Seniors, February 27th. The public is invited to attend a pancake breakfast on Friday, February 27th at 9 a.m. The speaker this month is Dr. Christopher Meehl, DVM, owner of the Linfield Animal Hospital, who will speak on best pets for older people.
And I want to welcome Chris Meehl, Dr. Chris Meehl, brother of our own Mark Meehl, and I'm happy to say sons of Dr. Bill Meehl, who visit us often. He is the owner of the Linfield Animal Hospital, and he's here today to discuss best dogs for older citizens.
That, and well, first of all, thank you. It's a privilege to be here. Mark tells me so much about what goes on here, and it's exciting.
Oh, I hope you're all lies. He knows all the secrets.
I believe it all. But all kidding aside, I want you to know that I am privileged to be here today, and I feel grateful to be able to talk about my favorite subject, which is my profession. And of course, I have the good fortune of being able to be in a profession that I have passion for, and quite a bit of lifelong devotion toward, and just would share with you some thoughts that have come to my mind over the years in practice as they pertain to my profession and the importance with which animals have in our lives. And I would also like to make time available this morning to answer any questions that you may have of any sort that pertain to animals, and also perhaps to share some stories that I'm sure you have. I know Jackie will have some stories to share. She's and I'm grateful Jackie's here today. I know Jackie, and I know her story is unique too. She is a truly gifted and talented individual with animals, and has had the animals that have touched her in her life have been really have benefited from the time spent with Jackie, and there are many of them, many more than I know of, but she remembers them all, and they all are unique. Let me just tell you a little bit about the process of becoming a veterinarian, because I think of becoming a veterinarian, it is a privilege and it is a bit of a calling. Yeah. And when I, as owner of a veterinary practice, will interview young men and women who are entertaining the thought of coming to work in our practice, I frequently will find myself saying to them, well, when did you get the calling? And I had the good fortune of having, for many, many years, an associate, Dr. Kim Ackerman, who was a very gifted young woman, veterinarian, and she had the good fortune of being married to a youth pastor. Her husband was a youth pastor. And it occurred to me that when we would talk, oftentimes talk about the calling. And it is somewhat of a calling to go into service, to work with animals, and it's very much a privilege. At the time when my late father, before me, and my late uncle, who was also a veterinarian, chose to become veterinarians, there was not a college of veterinary medicine in New England, so they went to the Midwest, as did I, to become trained as a veterinarian. In the time since, of course, Tufts University has started a college of veterinary medicine. It's a quite well thought of and well established veterinary college. But the process to become a veterinarian is a process very much similar in terms of time and commitment as it is to becoming a human doctor. I like to think veterinarians are much more fortunate. We have, as part of our oath, we make a commitment and take an oath to prevent suffering. I don't see that in the Hippocratic Oath. Unfortunately, we don't see that in the Hippocratic Oath. But all kidding aside, it is a bit of a calling and a process and a commitment. And then just one other thing I'll just say about the calling. I'm unique in that I own a veterinary practice, and so one of my responsibilities and my increasing responsibility is to have to say grace over the credentials and the individuals that we choose to have be part of our practice. And sadly, in my professional life, I have come across a few veterinarians, not within my practice now or anything, but who have chosen to become a veterinarian and then chosen to leave the profession, as in both cases this was two young women. And I was angered. I got hot under the collar when both these individuals told me this, because I know of all of the many, many young people that I've met over the years who have expressed an interest to become a doctor of veterinary medicine. And I found it troubling to have someone say to me, well, I'm going to leave this and go on to something else. And, it is privileged work, and it's nice working with animals. But with that said, let's go on and let me just share with you some ideas and some thoughts that I have that pertain to working with animals, and specifically some of the considerations that individuals need to have when they choose to have an animal companion in their life. Animals are very much personalities, and there needs to be an appropriate fit. And everyone here in this room is no longer a kid. We're not kids anymore. And we live in New England, where we have icy sidewalks, we have icy steps, and so choosing to have a pet that is an appropriate size is oftentimes a consideration. And first of all, even before we decide to have a pet, we frequently need to ask ourselves, am I lonely? Do I want some companionship? And do I have something to offer this animal? Is there a cat that needs a home? Is there a dog that needs a home? And are we a fit? Is there some other pet that might be an appropriate pet for me? Perhaps a goldfish. I had one family friend on my wife's side of the family. She was my wife's late grandmother, and when she was widowed, she found herself living alone in her home, and of course she was lonely and took measure of the companionship that she had and did not have in her home, and she befriended a spider. And spider lived in her bathroom, and several times a day she'd go in there and visit the spider. Well, her daughter came to visit with her and decided she was going to help her clean the house. She came out of the bathroom one day and she said, I got rid of that nasty old spider that was in here. And you know, it broke her heart, but I felt grateful that I had the privilege to be witness to that conversation, because it reminded me how important it is to have a connection with another living creature. And sometimes it is a goldfish. Sometimes it might be the spider in the bathroom. But more often than not, it's one of our domestic animals. And I have a book in my bedroom that I keep next to my bed, and when I have trouble sleeping at night, sometimes I'll just thumb through it. And it's an old book. It was written back around the time of World War I. But it's just called Our Domestic Animals. And it's really meant for junior high and high school age kids that just want to know a little bit about animal husbandry. But I like it because it goes back to an earlier era when the domestic animals were a larger part of our life. When I read about the horse, they're talking about the horse as a working animal, as a companion, and as an animal that is part of a larger dynamic, largely an agricultural environment. And the same is true when you read about the cows and the chickens and the other animals in there. But it's it speaks to the domestic animal. Now, we live in a day and an age when everything is upside down and different. You hear about people, recently we heard about the woman who had the chimpanzee that she kept as a, but you know, those aren't domestic animals.
No.
And they're not, they haven't really come under that realm of domestication. They're not really suited for the companionship that we might like. And even the case of the spider had its own little agenda, but my wife's late grandmother enjoyed its company nonetheless. But my point is that the animals we share time and space with are, for the most part, are domestic animals. And in a suburban town such as North Reading, or Linfield, or Middleton, more often than not, it is a dog or a cat, or in the case of Jackie, a horse, or a sheep, or a goat, or a rabbit. Any chickens, Jackie?
I haven't had any for a while.
Okay. I've always been kind of fond of chickens because they have their own peculiar nature, and they really do like our companionship, although they won't always let on to that. But there are considerations in this, and I'm going to speak in favor of the small dog right now. There's a lot to be said for the benefits of owning a small dog. First of all, dogs' brains are the same whether they're large or small. In fact, Dr. Brenda Buffard, one of the doctors at our practice, when she was at the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine, she had a classmate who was working in the neuroanatomy department, and one of the areas she worked on was the anatomical comparisons between the brains of different species of dogs. And what they found out is that whether it's a German Shepherd or a Chihuahua, dogs have about the same size brain. They're all about the size of a lemon, whether it's a giant dog or not. And that bears remembering. Just because a dog is tiny doesn't mean it has a tiny little brain. And when you see a Yorkshire Terrier or a Chihuahua or a Min Pin or whatever, these are intelligent animals, and they're devoted animals, and they are not so large that they are likely to pull you down an icy step, and they're not so large that they're going to be a physical imposition in your life. And of course the same is true with a cat. The size is appropriate given the limitations of our physical nature. And another consideration always worth mentioning is the larger environment of who else is in the house. Do you live in a home with small children? Or do you have small children that frequently come? And will they be part of the life experience that pet has? And these are matters worth considering. I have found in recent years that there is an increasing number of individuals that do what's called pet sharing. It's usually done within families, but the one case I'm thinking of right now, most recent individual who told me they were pet sharing was a couple that lives over in Linfield, and they have elderly parents, and the elderly parents have custody of the dog most of the time. The dog's name is Sugar, brown sugar I call